Alright, welcome everyone to the third installment of Fireside Chat. Today's topic is gonna be, what should the title be? Is the ball in your court? That's gonna be the title. Is the ball in your court? I'll be talking a little bit about basically, how to pace yourself, and how I internalize, the mindset I have towards losing, taking losses, and things of that nature. So, is the ball in your court? So when we use this phrase in the States, it's kind of to explain a situation where basically are you gonna seize the opportunity in the middle of the situation you're in, and are you gonna take control and responsibility and take action to resolve whatever you need to resolve? Are you going to take matters into your own hands, right? And I think for me, this became one of the most important questions that I had to ask myself, when I was on this path, and jumping over the hump, becoming profitable and consistent. Is the ball in your court? Because before I started asking myself this, or trying to reflect and assess, why I was struggling so much, I was never asking this question. I was focusing on other things, what's my model, and all of these conceptual things and strategy things. But yeah, I asked myself this question because is the ball in my court, or is the ball in someone else's hands? I guess in this context, it would be is it in the markets? Is it in the market's control? Whether I succeed. Is it does what other people say, and all of these other pressures and other pressures, are they gonna control the outcome of all this? Because I think all of this spills into to some of the issues and difficulties that I had. So when it brings me to a situation of when you're in when you get onto the charts for your session, and I take 1, 2, 3 losses, whatever my daily loss limit is, whatever the threshold is. Okay, there's a lot of times in earlier in my journey where whether I had a rule or not, that's not even important. It's just you can't control yourself and you can't stop. right? Even if you have the best plan in the world, even if you have, a solid set of rules, if you can't stick to them, if you can't follow them, if you can't like remember the importance of why you made those rules and what connotations it involves, it doesn't matter, because you're gonna come to that same, you're gonna cross the line again, right? So like, why can't you stop? Why can't I stop? If my rule was, I'll take 2 losses, or I'll take this X amount of monetary loss, before I take a breather and, come back next session or come back the next trading day. Why can't I stop? Like, what's going on there? I'm sure there's a lot of people could probably explain it psychologically and everything, but I mean, for me, it came down to more of this question of, is the ball in my hands? Okay, and even if it is in my hands, but what's the mentality towards it? What's the response? Like, it's in my hand. Do I want to just hand it off to someone else? I'm like, can't handle the pressure, can't handle the situation, yeah, so why can't I stop? If you come, have a series of days where you're at the end of towards the end of the trading week, and it hasn't been a good week, you've taken some blows, why can't you stop and just reset and come in next week? All right, if your trading day ended poorly, or like your EM session just was horrible, whether it's due to you reading your price wrong or other factors, why can't you just take a break and like, why am I pressing a button during the lunch hour? Why am I pressing the button early in the PM session? Why can't I just withhold myself and just remove myself from the button? Like, what's going on there? Right. I mean, other situations it could apply to is like, let's say you come in at the beginning of the week, it's Sunday, it's Monday morning now, we're all excited about the new trading week, and as soon as market opens, why is there such a difficulty in just letting just easing into just watching price? Why dig yourself a hole in London session on Monday, or just Monday, and then Monday affects how you trade Tuesday, and then by Wednesday you just have a considerable hole you have to dig back out of for the rest of the week. Right, so these type of things are all things that I think everyone goes through. I face these. And for me, after reflecting about it, after spending a lot of time trying to reason with it, for me it came down to this, because it's that I couldn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself, regardless of and irrespective of me knowing a lot of things about price action and being able to forecast things and being able to see my model, week in, week out, day in, day out. I couldn't trust myself. Like, what does that mean? Let's unpack that a bit. Like, it's not that I didn't have the mental capability or the skill set, could even say that it's over, like, in terms of like technical knowledge, it's way above what is needed to do this, but I couldn't trust myself. Or like, I didn't say I didn't trust myself, but like deep down in the subconscious, that's the true root. So it's not even that I didn't trust my knowledge, or I didn't trust the fact that I had this type of understanding and that I could execute. Right? It's not like I had doubts or anything. I think that's not exactly what I mean by can't trust myself, but there was just something misaligned with how I was thinking. Okay, because I took all this time, all of these years, all of these hours, all of these numerous amount of videos and chart time to obtain the understanding and the foresight and the vision to interpret and analyze price. But if I truly understood what I understood, I truly understood how the markets work, like it shouldn't necessarily be that difficult of a task, to operate with composure. So when I take a loss, and I dig a hole for myself, and I can't withhold my finger from the button. What does that mean? What does that mean? There might be aspects of yeah, I feel frustrated and angry and want to put myself down that that I didn't read the market correctly, or I made a mistake in some way, and I want to make it back. I want to get revenge. I want to prove myself right. I want to force myself on the market. Yeah, there could be those aspects, but I actually think that this is a more important element than all of those other things, even though those are realities. There's gonna be the outside pressure and this pressure that you place on yourself, that you have to prove yourself, that you have to prove all the haters, you have to prove your family and people around you. Like, yeah, there's all of that, and that is a pressure, that is a I don't think it directly impacts your trading session or your trading decisions in those moments. Okay. Like, yeah, it might be that like if you're in a challenge setting or something, or like or something like that, like, oh, I need to pass the challenge, like it's gonna be it's gonna be this trade or not, like, you know, especially after you dug yourself into a hole, like the what is it called, like when you've reached your mental capital limit and you just go and you just YOLO it because it's a challenge setting. Yeah, there is an aspect of it's gonna be this next trade, or you know, next 3 trades, or it's it. But I don't think, like, most of the time when, you know, when you're in drawdown, when you're in a bad week, when you're in a bad day, like, you're not necessarily trying to you know, make back everything in one trade. Yes, you can easily feel like that, like, of course, you know, if I could make it back in one trade, like, you feel why not, you know? But I don't think it becomes as big of a snowball where like most people are just I have to, like, it's more just that, like, the tilt and all of this accumulated, you know, battering you're taking is just accumulating and accumulating. You're just, you know, you're just taking bad decisions after bad decisions after bad decisions, right? And if you do that with a little bit looser risk management, if you do that loose, you know, a little bit more, just like, it's fine, I'll just make it back on this trade, like, I see a good setup here, like, we're gonna get to target here, like, and then it can just snowball out. At least for me, like, more bigger issue than that is couldn't trust what I knew. Like, if I take a loss, why is there such a rush to get back into the next setup, to the next fair value gap play, next whatever? Like, trying to get there, you know, if it happens in the next minute, it's the next minute. If the next 10 minutes is the earliest, like, that first opportunity, I have to snag at it. Like, I don't think that situation, like, that mentality, that mode of, like, I need to hunt. I need my meal for the day. I need it now. I think it's a little different, at least in how I've come to a conclusion with it. Because ultimately it comes down to I couldn't trust or be patient or realize and remind myself that I know what I'm looking for. I've seen it happen. I've seen these things happen thousands upon thousands of times, and it's gonna come. You know, it's gonna come later in the day. It's gonna come later in the session. It's gonna come in the next session. It's gonna come the following day, and then the following day. And even if I miss it, or even if I mix execute upon it those times, there's gonna be another opportunity. It's gonna come next week. It's gonna come the following day? Couldn't trust it. I don't think actually that's the right word. It's like in the head knowledge, and through experience and through study. I mean, there's no doubt that it's gonna come. Like that's not the issue here of understanding that. I understand that, but there's some disconnect that doesn't allow me to respond or act in a manner that should reflect that. Right. So when I say like can't trust myself, maybe another way to think about it is another way to think about it is I'm disrespecting my own self. Like I don't respect my capabilities. I don't respect what I know. I don't respect the time that I've invested into this. I don't respect the amount of chart time. I don't respect the amount of experience and watching these moves happen. I'm not respecting that. I'm disrespecting my own self. Right? Because if I take a loss, you just eat the loss. And then you just know, like next time, next time could be in the next 5 minutes, in the next minute, it could be in the next hour, it could be in, in the PM session, or it could be the next day. All right. There's no, I guess it's kind of related to this. It's like the aspect of not being able to trust yourself. Like, do I not trust my own eyes and my understanding that because the next setup could be in the next 5 minutes, or it could be the next hour, or it could be 2 days from now, like because of that uncertainty, or being open to possibilities, do I not trust myself that I'll be able to spot the setup? I'll be able to read the narrative. I'll be able to tape read. I'll be able to read order flow, and I'll be able to come to a drawn liquidity. Do I not trust myself to have that? I mean, that's what it ultimately comes down to, because if I trusted myself, if I truly understood and respected the fact that, okay, I put this amount of time, and I know I see moves over and over again. It's there every week, every day. Like, the market's price action makes sense to me. Maybe not 100% of the time you can, and maybe I cannot make sense of and anticipate and forecast every single fluctuation swing, but when the narrative is there, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to look for, and I know what manner I should operate in. But like, can I not trust that? Like, that's what I mean by I'm disrespecting myself. Like, why is it so difficult? Like, why can't can't trust that be able to spot the next PM session, silver bullet, that I'm gonna do or die, or I'm gonna like make an effort to try to, claw back up to the, claw back out of the hole I made, within the decisions that I make, within the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, within the session. Like, why does it have to be now? Why does it have to be the current swing? Why does it have to be, in the now? Right? Why does it have to be today? Why can't you come tomorrow? Right? Or the following day? Why can't you come in the PM session? Right? Why can't I just take, stand up from the desk, go to the bathroom, take a little, refreshment, something to drink, and then come back a few minutes later, reset myself, and then, why is that so difficult? I think for me, like, the answer that makes the most sense is this. Like, I didn't trust in myself, right? I didn't allow myself, I didn't give myself the chance to come back when I know I can perform, right? Because of this delusion that, that maybe tomorrow the order blocks don't work, right? And always trying to search for why this fair value gap. Like, how come this PD order should not? Like, I think they're all kind of related. It's just like, why do you have to know all of these aspects and all these things when you can't even really make do with what you already, like, with the tools that you already have, right? Yeah, so like the biggest detriment, the biggest, negative thing about this whole way of thinking is you're disrespecting your own self, because you can't trust your own self, because you don't even allow yourself. Like, the ball is in my hand, but like, either because I don't believe, or I don't want to be held responsible, I don't want to eat the loss, I don't want to because of all those things, the ball is in my hand, but I'll just forfeit and pass the ball and forfeit it to someone else. Alright, so even whatever capabilities they have, whatever you can do, you can't even show it. Right? I mean, I had a thing related to all of this is, for me, I had a very difficult time, not only with these aspects, but I had a difficult time being comfortable and okay and peaceful with going half leverage after a loss. Right? And actually, part of all this realization came from the fact of me trying to, like, figure out, okay, why do I have such a difficult time going half, like reducing my risk in half after a loss. Like, why? Like, I understand the benefits of it. I understand the reasoning, the logic of it. I understand why I should do it. But even when I do it, why do I have to, like, what is it called? What's the phrase? Like, why do I have to, like, I don't know the phrase. Why do I have to, like, bite my tongue and, like clench all the muscle, all of the muscles in my body, and just have a difficult time? Like, why do I have to do it with so much pain and so much reluctance? And why does it not feel proper and sound, even though it's supposed to be proper and sound, right? I mean, same thing I could apply to, like, taking partials. Like, for some parts of my journey, taking partials did not feel good to me, even though it's supposed to. All right. And then there are other parts of my journey where taking partials, like, what is it called? Like, doing the full pull, it was painful. I guess a lot of people have that aspect too. It's like, why can't I trust myself to hold for longer targets? I mean, there's experience and all of that, but it's like the opposite spectrum of all of this. Like, why can't you reduce it in half? Why does taking partials not feel satisfying? It's like, you're so used to taking partials to protect yourself, taking partials as like a defense mechanism. I mean, I guess you could do the same thing. Like, when you try to trail your stop, or like move things to break even too quickly, like, that is also an aspect. But, like, in terms of, like, the full pull and stuff, like, why you can't hold to greater targets? You can't trust your analysis. You can't trust yourself to let the trade pan out. You can't trust yourself to let the trade kind of extend itself, and then when you do, and then you have bad experience of when you try doing it, that all messes up with your head. But it all comes down to kind of trusting yourself, or maybe not trusting yourself, but, like, the ball is in your hand. You shoot the ball and let it do its thing. Right? Shoot the ball. Like, you've taken thousands of shots. Yeah, of course, if you shoot it, it's not going to be 100% guaranteed. But you did the training, you did the practice, and it's now or never. It was your time to perform. You gotta shoot it. Like, you have an open shot, you gotta shoot it. You can't just pass it on to your teammate, right? Like, that's how I internalize all of this. Like, anything that I have difficulty doing, anything that I have that I could understand with my head, but doing it, there was a lot of resistance. Like, it came down to not being able to I either trust my abilities, you know, through a number of different factors, maybe a lack of experience, or just still self-doubting, even though you've done the work. At some point, you have to just you just have to, during the official match, you know, in a live setting, you gotta take the hits, you gotta take the wins, you gotta take the losses, you gotta take responsibility for your analysis, right? And then you just do that over and over again. You get experience with it, you know. Experience, you know, you do iterations of this, and it builds and reinforces, you know, of what you're capable of. What else to talk about? I guess we can talk about how I internalize, you know, the aspect of losses and the aspect of maybe reducing risk, reducing leverage, things like that. I mean, I already talked a little bit about it, but when I take a loss, and then, you know, and then it's in the same session, and, you know, basically in close proximity to the incident of the loss, there's a lot of good reasons for why it's not a bad idea, and it'll be beneficial to reduce the risk you have. I mean, of course, you can have a argument, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that's sound logic too. Like, you gotta let your system play out. You know, you just do your risk reward. You know, strike rate stuff. Like, that's fine too. But that just means you're more what is it called? You're more mechanically wired, and not as discretionary, and you don't value the discretionary part. Because like the way that I do narrative, the way that narrative is supposed to work, is kind of discretion within a framework. Like the discretion part is quite important. And so how you currently understand a price run, and how you choose to engage in it, and the feedback you get from it, is part of that discretion and how you build on that narrative. So yeah, if you take a loss, if I take a loss, I treat it as information, right? Not necessarily information in the fact that, like, okay, not every single loss gives me information that I'm necessarily wrong or right, or like how I should internalize, you know, the current and, you know, future candles. It's not necessarily always, you know, it's not always going to lead to that, but, you know, it could be a sign. I mean, a lot of times it's a sign that whatever the narrative I'm reading, it might not be it might not be ripe to do that. All right. And so in that situation, unless I can reshape a new narrative that fits that type of feedback, it probably means for the near term, in proximity to all of this, to this narrative, probably in a low probability condition, or a condition where I can't really, like, perform that well. And that's, that's invaluable information. Like that could keep like a a 3R minus 3R session and just cap it at -1. Right? But like if you're a mechanical trader, you just be like, okay, I'll just take those 3 trades, and then it's 3 losses. Right? And then there's other situations where it's that first loss gives me information that I could continue what I was already thinking, or I need to reverse it. Right? Just like you pay 1R initially up front, you deposit it. That's like your blind, and then that gives you insight, that gives you information for which you could take your next move, to make maybe 3R. Let's say on average, like your setup is a 3R. And then so you're playing 1, and then you make 3, and then and that's 2, something like that. I guess there's going to be situations where it's like, okay, it's more of like not as immediate of a response of, okay, I can change my narrative, I was wrong, I can flip. On those type of situations, it's a little bit pick and choose for me. It's just how I feel at the gut. But most of those times, it's the same risk. I don't necessarily reduce the risk, but sometimes I do. There's no hurt in doing it. I basically have a mentality that if it's a swing in question that is going to be significant, and I'm in front of the charts and it makes logical sense, even if I can't get in at the ideal entry, I'll be able to get in at multiple different entries, higher or lower. I have confidence in that, so like I don't need the perfect entry. It just needs to make sense to me. So like I feel fine with just like going in half leverage, because I know I can pyramid as long as the move is going to be sustained, to where I think it's going to go, where it's going to draw to, in that range of opportunity. As long as it gives opportunities to scale in, I could scale in a little bit more and bring it up to that original position size, maybe a little bit bigger, and that's gonna make up, So it's like same thing. Even if I go in with a half R, it's kind of like I'm just paying a little fee to get extra insight, a little fee to get a feel at the order flow, and once things are solidified and there's more clarity, like I could up the bet a little bit more. All right, because I have that, I don't feel as I've come a long ways in becoming very okay with going in with smaller position sizes than I usually deal with, because I could if the opportunity is there, I could bring it up to what I wanted it to be originally, even if I have to sacrifice a little bit, But for other people, like if you're more of just like a no pyramid, I'm just going once, get my 3R, get my 4R, get my take my partials here, then reducing your risk in half might feel might not feel that good. But how you have to think about it, I mean, because like if you take one minus 1R and then like let's say average, you only get like 2.5, 3R. If you reduce the risk in half, even if it goes to 3R, you're only making 1.5R. So you're only making actually a half R, because minus 1R is made to come back to break even. But how you have to think about it is you're going in at half R. So like let's say 1R is $100. You got your minus 100. You're going with half leverage. So basically, whatever your stop loss is going to be, it's going to be half. So $50 stop loss size, and you're trying to make back, half. So like, what does that mean? Like, basically, what that means is you only have to make a 1-to-1 R trade. So like, making a 1-to-1 trade, it should not necessarily be difficult. Like within the next 5 minutes, a setup could form. You can just quickly go 1R. It could be in the next 30 minutes, 1 hour. But like, because the level of burden, level of burden of proof where you have to like perform, like you only have to do a 1-to-1. All right. Yeah, you had to. In the morning, like you had to take a loss, and you kind of, have to let most of the AM session pass. But like, there's more time in the markets. Like, basically, after you get to, after you make half of it back, your trading stage starts in the PM session, or in lunch, or whatever. There's no problem there. So yeah, you have to think about it as, okay, you just have to make a 1-to-1. Like if you frame yourself in that way, you're not as hurried and like pressured to be like, I gotta find my next solid A+ setup, like that. No, you can just chill. You can just go in with peace of mind. Kind of be casual, and once there's a setup, I mean, if there's a setup that forms, it's clearly going to be 3R. Like, you don't even have to like have the best entry. You don't even have to have like. You can just chill. You can just chill. Like, you go in half position. You can take a little partial somewhere. You can let it run. You have a lot of options. Like you have the upper hand, you're not chasing something. That's how you can think about it. That's how I like to try to think about it. I also like to think about it, kind of like this too, like what I was saying before. Taking the 1R, it could be good insight into telling you that, okay, I need to avoid this price action in the meantime, until we create new market structure, or until we create something more obvious, or we get into a more meaningful time aspect. Gotta we'll chill a bit, because if I try to operate in here, I'm gonna take a few more cuts, and that's just gonna dig a hole that I'm gonna have to climb out of, before I start, moving in an incline or growing equity. Like, let's say like your average trade is a 3R. Next 3 trades, it's basically you're making 3, 6, 9R, but you paid 1R to be able to make 9 or 8R net. And it's just a little fee that you pay to the market to either get inside or to get whatever, so that you can make 8R, right? I mean, that's not exactly exact, because you still have to account for the fact that the next trade or next trade setup or something, you have to take half R and then bring yourself, like again, that next trade where you're doing half R, it doesn't count as like a full-on trade. It's just like a little exercise to get yourself 1R or a little bit extra. Bring yourself back to equilibrium. You can think about it like that. You can think about it as, when if you're only trading like 1 or 2 times a week, or you have a very low frequency where it's basically like your trade here versus your next trade, it's an entirely different narrative. It's a different frame of reference. There's no real connection between any factors from your first trade to your second trade. It's like most of the time that's going to mean like you're trading in the next session, or more fittingly, trading in the following day. Like if you're trading something in proximity, your daily bias, how you're reading it prior to your session, is going to impact how you trade your session, and then the losses that you have or the performance you have during the session is going to impact how you're reading into the current price action, right? It's like everything, there's a lot of variables and elements that are kind of working in play. So like in those type of situations, I think it's very good to have reduce that leverage with the loss, because it provides you benefits like being able to gauge whether you're in a good condition or not, and you get to save yourself in such a way, or it can give you an insight into how you should play, how you were wrong on your narrative. So it could be things like that. But if it's more separated, like no connection, no relationship, like I don't necessarily think that you have to really do that half leverage thing. It's not a bad thing to do, right? But it's not as necessary in that situation, because you basically had a time to mentally reset. You had time to mentally reset your analysis. You had time to basically kind of process in and just eat the loss. And there's not as much emotion to play because you've had this step away, right? So in that case, it's you're not fighting a lot of things. You can just basically go as if it's just a next trade, clean slate, right? I mean, you can expand the idea of like, oh, you're paying 1R to make 8R. Like if you expand that into like 10 trades, 20 trades, I mean, even in the -1 for 3 wins type of situation, like you're only paying 1/3 of an R for each trade. Like that's the commission that you're paying, right? But like if you spread a few losses into like 20 total trades, like it's not that much. Like that a few losses is the same thing as commissions. Like those losses aren't the thing that it's gonna bring you into negative. It's gonna be more how you manage your trade, how you all of that aspect, right? And not managing risk properly. So I want you guys to ask yourself, like, is the ball in your court? Is the ball in your hand? Right? Like, you have to become aware of that fact, that it is in your hands. Like, you do have control over this. It's not like you're at the mercy of IPTA and you're at the mercy of the markets, and if they grant you prosperity for the trading week, then you get to be, then you get to pass your challenge. And if not, then you're screwed. Like, if they're not on your side, then you're just doomed. Like, that's not what it is. If you don't have the understanding, you don't know what you're doing, then like, yeah, you have to study, and you have to put in the hours. But you've been doing what you've been doing, like, you gotta just trust yourself. You gotta just let yourself know that, like, you're not an avatar. You're not just some little apprentice. That's just trying to do something. No, like, the coach put you in. You're not a bench warmer. You're in the game. Like, you have to do your job. You gotta do your job. You gotta be professional. You gotta take the hits. You can't be like iffy, wishy-washy, and be like trying to rely upon someone to confirm your analysis or your setup. Like, none of that matters. You have to take responsibility for your analysis and for how you maneuver yourself, how you navigate it, right? And you gotta take responsibility for your risk management and how you execute it, right? Like, trading is all about execution, but to improve in execution, to really get into the flow of execution, you gotta do it wrong a lot of times, and you gotta do it right a lot of times. You just need reps. It's not like just because you think, oh, I trust myself, like, I've been disrespecting myself, but now that I heard this, like, I'm just gonna change my mentality and it's gonna fix things. I mean, everything starts with mentality, but you gotta respond with positive actions that's going to reinforce that mindset, that idea, that initiative. You gotta build that. You gotta keep reinforcing that, and through those experiences, through the executions, through the discipline, you're gonna build that habit. You're gonna build that fortitude. You're gonna actually instill that mentality within you. So you gotta be disciplined. You have to just stick to it. Now that you understood one of the elements of where you were trying to, like, shift pass the ball onto, like, you hold the ball. All right. If you don't actually have the skills to perform with the ball, then yeah, you have to put the ball down, and you gotta work, you gotta train. But you've trained, you've done the studies, you've done, now you have to try. You can't be scared. You have to let yourself, you have to let your wings free themselves. You gotta fly. It might be a little rocky first flight, but that's where we start. So yeah, ask yourself, is the ball in my hands? And once you're aware that it's in your hands, what are you going to do with it? You gotta think about what you're going to do with it. How are you going to perform? What steps are you going to take? How are you going to approach, one step closer to your goals? Right? And you can't be afraid of the ball. You can't be afraid of the ball. You can't be afraid of shooting. You can't. You gotta trust your eyes. You gotta trust what you've been working towards. Right? Because you have a lot of you have the safeguards of risk management behind you. Right? Just give yourself the opportunity to fly. Alright, so I hope this fireside chat, changed some of your perspectives. And until the next one, have a good weekend.